Hello, you filthy savages. It's your ferocious host with the most fun to be the savage, and I'm back with another reaction video. Today I will be reacting to best and worst comebacks in MMA. Let's jump right in.
And everybody, thank you! And this is still my boy!
Oh, that shit's so bold.
Deciding to retire is one of the hardest decisions for any MMA fighter, and over the years there's been many names that have given in to one more big match. There's a list of high-profile fighters who made returns to the sport, some with newfound success, and others putting a stain on a once glittering career.
God damn.
Welcome to INC, and these are the best and worst comebacks in MMA. When you think of MMA legends, you think of Randy Couture. During a 20-year career, the natural achieved all there was to accomplish, a 3-time NCAA All-American and becoming the first man to win UFC titles in 2 different weight classes. After losing to Chuck Liddell at UFC 57, Couture called time in his career, moving to a broadcasting post with the UFC while being inducted to the Hall of Fame in June 2006. In 2007, Couture announced he was coming out of retirement to take on Tim Sylvia for the UFC heavyweight title. Having not fought at heavyweight for 5 years, few people gave Couture a chance against the much bigger champion, but those doubts were quickly silenced 8 seconds into the fight. The punch would be a sign of things to come, with Couture controlling the fight on the ground to claim a unanimous decision, and at 43, becoming the oldest man ever to win a UFC title.
Damn, I was
Couture would fight 7 more times in the UFC, including a win over Gabriel Gonzaga, before retiring in 2011 at the age of 47. If Couture's comeback helped cement his legacy, Ken Shamrock's went a long way to destroying his. Ken was one of the pioneers of MMA in the early 90s, competing in the first UFC tournament and becoming the company's first champion with a submission win over Dan Severn. After a 5-year spell in professional wrestling, Ken returned to the UFC in 2002, taking on light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz in a high-profile match at UFC 40. Despite losing the fight, Shamrock's involvement proved a rating success, with UFC referee Big John McCarthy describing the match as the most important in company history. The fight, however, would be the pinnacle of Shamrock's return, winning just 2 of his last 10 fights, one of which against 400-pound Ross Clifton in February 2009.
I love when a big motherfucker
Shamrock also saw his career tainted by steroid abuse,
they
testing positive shortly after the Clifton fight, then again in 2016 after losing to Royce Gracie. Despite being well into his 50s, Shamrock has no intention of hanging up the gloves, turning the world's most dangerous man into an unfortunate punchline for many fans.
Damn.
It's easy to forget how big of a star Brock Lesnar was in MMA. The Dakota native turned his spell in pro wrestling into an extended run as the sport's biggest draw, winning the UFC Heavyweight Championship, breaking records in pay-per-view and earning millions in prize money in the space of just 4 years. After losing to Alistair Overeem at UFC 141, Lesnar returns to the WWE and seemingly bringing his spell in mixed martial arts to a formal end. That was until an infamous promo in the build to UFC 200.
Can you see me now?
Whoa!
What does that mean? I think that means that Brock Lesnar is back.
In the biggest deal in UFC history, Lesnar announced a one-off return to MMA, taking on heavyweight contender Mark Hunt in the co-main of UFC 200. Lesnar used his superior wrestling to take Hunt down early in the first, controlling the fight on the ground and wearing down the big hard-hitting Samoan for the remainder of the fight. Despite earning a unanimous decision, Lesnar tested positive for the estrogen blocker clofamine, overturning the decision to a no contest. Lesnar retired shortly afterwards, and his appearance at UFC 200 was brushed under the carpet by all involved. Unless you're Mark Hunt, that is.
Fuck you, you're getting sued. You scummy cunt, you think... I mean, the problem is everyone thinks, hey man, I want to get into the UFC. Fuck the UFC, you're shit. You motherfuckers don't look after nobody.
That's how
Dominic
it comes.
Cruz never formally retired from
Jesus
MMA,
Christ,
but the
man.
height of
The
climb to
hardest
return to the
hitters,
top
baddest
makes him a
motherfuckers
worthy
be having
addition to this
voices like
list.
house cats.
At the height of his
Shit,
fame,
crazy.
Cruz is one of MMA's most dangerous bantamweights, winning the WEC Bantamweight Championship and taking the belt to the UFC when the two companies merged in 2010. While preparing for a match with Uriah Faber at UFC 148, Cruz suffered a torn ACL in his right knee, sparking a series of recurring injuries that saw him stripped of the title in 2014.
I went into healing, got the surgery, my body rejected the cadaver tendon, and then it made it rip. Set back another 9 months. This time I did patella tendon graft, healed up. Then I have to go through another 3-month process with the quad tear. I was a world champion fighter at one time, kicking people's butts for a living. And the goal for my day was to bend my leg 10 times.
Victory over Takeya Mizugaki at UFC 178 had left Cruz poised for another run at the belt, only to suffer another ACL tear and leave him out of action for a further 18 months. After months of questions surrounding his future, Cruz finally returned to title contention, taking on bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw in the main event of Fight Night 81. In a back-and-forth battle, Cruz used his counter-attacking style to hold the Californian at bay, earning a split decision win and regaining the bantamweight championship 4 years after his planned fight with Faber. BJ Penn has made comeback something of a trademark in recent years. At the height of his career, Penn was considered one of the most versatile fighters in MMA, earning wins over Matt Hughes and Jens Pulver while showing a willingness to fight all comers in any weight class. In 2011, Penn took on Nick Diaz in the main event of UFC 137, and after losing the fight by unanimous decision, announced his intention to retire from the sport.
It's probably the last time you're ever going to see me in here. I can't keep, I want to perform at the top level. That's it, Joe. I'll shake your hand right now.
The decision, however, would be short-lived, as Penn announced he would be returning to the octagon to take on welterweight prospect Roy MacDonald at UFC on Fox 5. Penn would lose the fight by unanimous decision and after a one-sided defeat to Frankie Edgar, announced his second retirement during the post-fight press conference.
The biggest regret would have been is if I didn't get in the ring tonight, because I'd always wonder and I'd always kick myself in the butt and I'd always complain to Dana and complain to everybody that, man, I could have did it again. And now I know for sure that I can't.
30 months after the fight, Penn made an unlikely return to competition, taking on featherweight contender Yair Rodriguez in the main event of Fight Night 103. Penn was outclassed throughout the entire fight, eventually succumbing to a TKO early in the second round. Penn still remains signed to the UFC and hasn't won since 2012. And now time for a few honourable mentions. Conor McGregor returned to the sport in 2016 after the shortest-lived retirement in MMA history. Chuck Liddell set tongues at Bellator wagging when he teased a comeback earlier this year. And Ronda Rousey made her long-awaited return at UFC 207. Due to copyright reasons, we're not allowed to show the fight, so here's a dramatic reconstruction.
Oh my God! No! Don't do that! Don't do that to this girl!
This is the INC, and thank you for watching.
These niggas is out of control. You know, that's bold. Check the description box down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my gaming channel, WEATHERSBY the Savage. The ferocious host with the most is signing off.